Hi there, John Moore here. I'm a spiritual teacher from Maine in the US, and I want to talk to you about spiritual bypassing versus true spiritual positive thinking and draw a really big distinction between them. First, I need to talk to you about what we call spiritual bypassing and why that is not a great thing. So, spiritual bypassing is when we have things happen in our life that are problematic, that might cause us to be angry or depressed or what have you. And we put on this false egotism of spirituality and say, I am rising above that. I am 33rd level ascended master and I float on clouds. And I'm exaggerating, but that is essentially spiritual bypassing. Um, And there's multiple problems with this. One problem is, if there's something that's going on in your life that needs to be changed. Let's say I'm in a, uh, I'm in a horrible relationship. Let's say I'm in a horrible job, which involves horrible relationships with my boss or whatever. And it's making me angry every day. And I go in and I'm just going, everything is wonderful. Everything is going to be great. And I'm just sort of denying the reality of my situation. Research actually has shown that that can make us depressed. That can bring about depression and all kinds of problems. The other issue is that we're not actually dealing with the reality that we're finding ourselves in. And spiritually, we are missing out on an opportunity to evolve. When we do this with spirituality, we are in our spiritual ego and saying, I am above anger. I am above feeling bad about anything, blah, blah, blah. But you're lying to yourself. And that's what spiritual bypassing is. At the heart of spiritual bypassing is you trying to fool yourself into feeling better. Okay. And that can only last for so long. You can only be in love and light for so long. You know, um, and really, people who are constantly in love and light, no matter what goes on, and they just ignore it and push it aside and don't deal with their stuff, um, you know, that just can't last forever, and you're not evolving, you're not moving forward, you're not learning anything. So currently, and this is something I've thought about for a really, really long time. I've talked about spiritual bypassing for years. And I remember years ago, I used to host this monthly meetup called Spiritual Professionals Meetup. And it was just like anybody who wanted to come, identified in any way as spiritual, would come, and we would have a topic and, sit in a circle and everybody would discuss a topic and network and that sort of thing. And I'll never forget, there was one meeting where these two young women came in, and we would start the meeting by going around the circle and introducing ourselves. And these two young women were in active recovery from some kind of drug addiction. And they were in a program, they were in a rehab program or something. It clearly wasn't residential. They were allowed to be at this meeting. And part of that was mindfulness training and meditation. I think that's fantastic. They were doing yoga every day, all kinds of stuff. Really great stuff. And one of the young women was like, well, I had something happen on the way over here that I want to discuss. So I'm doing all this meditation and yoga and stuff, and I've been doing it for a couple weeks now, which is amusing to me anyway, and I'll tell you why. Is that she got cut off in traffic. It's like this guy cut me off on my way over here, and I got really, really angry. And then I was like, I shouldn't be getting angry. I'm meditating, I'm doing yoga, blah, blah, blah. And then I got angry that I was angry. And I just looked at her and I said, then did you get angry at yourself for getting angry about being angry? And then did you get angry about that? And she got it. Like she understood like how futile that was, right? How she felt some anger. She had a reaction in the moment, and her reaction to that was incredibly negative. And which probably isn't much worse than just going, I'm not angry. I don't feel anger. I am above anger. I'm a meditator. Like she wanted to spiritually bypass, but didn't know how to do it yet. But we talked about it, and I said, what if you just allowed yourself to feel angry for a moment and realized that that was a signal from somewhere, some part of you, some touched on some wounded part of you. What does it mean when somebody cuts you off? Does it mean they're not respected? You feel like, what does it mean to you? It feels like you're not being respected. Your safety and your boundaries are being violated by somebody who's being uncaring. We could do a bunch of shadow work around that. Um, so personally, I'm in the middle of studying with the IMM / University of Sedona, which is the International Metaphysical Ministry, getting my ministerial credentials through them. And so there are lessons, there's a bunch of lessons you have to go through. It takes, I don't know, it depends on how quickly you go through it, but like about a year. Um, of study and testing and things like that. And there was a lesson in there by Dr. Masters, who is the founder. He's now deceased, but he was the founder of the program and a metaphysician, and um, talking about positivity. And I really liked the things that he had to say in the way that he had to put it, in the way that he would treat negative reactivity with positive thinking, but in a good way, right? So, and let me explain a little bit about how that good way works. And I think this is a way to, instead of doing spiritual bypassing, take something positive from our negative reactivity. So something happens and we have a negative reaction to it. Over time, it takes time. You have to train yourself to do this. We recognize that we are becoming reactive. We treat that as a signal from our unconscious that to do something, to change something, that something needs to be changed, that there's something going on, right? And that we can turn that into positivity when we decide that we can learn from that experience, or that we can turn something around or change something about what's going on, right? So this is not bypassing, but this is using negative reactions. Negative is like a subjective term. Uncomfortable, unpleasant emotional reactions to things. Oh, I'm feeling some anger about that. That is a signal to me that you know, I can learn something from this and then turn it into a positive. The anger can dissipate on its own. Over time, we start to recognize these signals as soon as they happen. Oh, had a little bit of reaction to that. And the feelings dissipate quicker. And then we're able to do something intelligent, discerning, beneficial, positive with that information. It depends on your situation. So, again, let's take the example of me being in a job that, maybe I've got a boss that's a jerk and he makes me feel bad about myself every time I go in, and I go home and I'm just steaming mad about it, right? When I start to recognize those emotions come up, I can take that as an opportunity. Now, in a metaphysical sense, I would take that as an opportunity to um, go deeper into myself, or go become more connected with source, divinity, God, whatever you want to talk about, and allow my communication with my boss to be informed by spirit. Right. So again, this is a signal, like I feel powerless because I don't know what to say to this guy who's treating me like a jerk. Oh, but I can use that as a signal, that feeling as a signal. I am going to do my work, and I'm going to, you know, merge or become one, or allow spirit to come in and direct my speech so that my speech becomes inspired, becomes more divine, and then it can handle this situation in a spiritually informed way, right? For me, that's what works for me. You would find what works for you. I take things from a metaphysical approach. Okay, so I'm always trying to be filled with the spirit of God or divinity or source or universe or whatever term you want to use for the source of all things. And I just think that this struck me as an approach that was much very clean, positive, but not bypassing, recognizing things for what they are, and it gives you the potential to change them if a situation is is not up to par, is not up to what you need, is not supporting you. You're being triggered by it is a signal that maybe the situation needs to change. Maybe I need to talk to my boss, or maybe I need to go to HR, or maybe I need to quit and find a new job, or maybe, maybe I need to learn how to handle criticism better. All of those things become options when I become less reactive and more responsive, right? When I respond instead of react. Reactive is I have a feeling and I act on it. Or the flip side of being reactive is I have a feeling and I cram it down inside. And a year later, I wind up with high blood pressure and depression and stress and anxiety and all of the things that can come from shoving our emotions down. Okay. So I hope this is helpful. I really did love studying this information from Dr. Masters, and hope that it's helpful for you, something to think about. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you very soon.